Hello, it's Wednesday. We're doing the 8 days of Easter this week, and we're going to be looking at what Jesus did on Wednesday. Now, I will say the event that I'm going to talk about today, there is some polemic about when it took place. John tells us that it was 6 days before the Passover, which would have put it the day before, or on Saturday, the day before the triumphal entry into Jerusalem. But if you look in the Mark and Luke's gospel, they talk about it following immediately behind what we looked at yesterday, Jesus' last public appearance. And so whichever time it happened, and we'll leave some room that it didn't happen on Wednesday, the story is important, and I want to read it to you from Mark's gospel. In verse 3 of chapter 14, the Bible says, "While he was in Bethany, reclining at the table in the home of a man known as Simon the leper, a woman came with an alabaster jar of very expensive perfume made of pure nard. She broke the jar and poured the perfume on his head." Now, just a couple of comments about this. There's a meal being held in honor of Jesus, and they're serving, and understand, in that day, the custom was men never ate with women. The men would eat in a room. The women only entered to serve. They would have food on a tray or whatever, and that would be all they would do, is just serve the food. But in walks this woman. If we assimilate these two accounts, Mark and John, we identify her as Mary, the sister of Lazarus, the one whom Jesus raised from the dead. She comes in with a jar of very expensive perfume. In fact, I think in John it's given value. It said that it was worth 300 denarii. Denarii was the equivalent of 1 day's wages for an average worker in that day. So we're looking at a jar that cost her, a perfume that cost about a year's worth of wages. So this is not an inexpensive gift. She comes in with this jar, she breaks it, and she begins to pour it on Jesus' head. And notice as we go on, some of those present were saying indignantly to one another, "Why this waste of perfume? It could have been sold for more than a year's wages and the money given to the poor." And they rebuked her harshly. They're upset. Some of the disciples, the people in the room, they're upset because what is this woman doing? What a wasteful gift. What a wasteful thing she's doing. And here's an application I want to make. We need to be very careful about judging what somebody else does for the Lord. They may offer up some act of worship or some gift to the Lord that maybe you would never think to do. But it's between that person and the Lord. It's not our call to judge them according to that gift. There is some leeway in the way we worship the Lord. And notice what Jesus says. "Leave her alone. Why are you bothering her? She's done a beautiful thing to me. The poor you will always have with you, and you can help them anytime you want. But you will not always have me. She did what she could. She poured perfume on my body beforehand to prepare for my burial. I tell you the truth, wherever the gospel is preached throughout the world, what she has done will also be told in memory of her." I love Jesus' response. Leave her alone. It's none of your business. This is her act of worship for me. And wherever the gospel is preached, this story will be shared. And here's my application for you today. Please don't let other people dictate to you how you express your love to the Lord. If God has placed in your heart to express your love in a certain way, do that. And also, don't judge somebody else by what they do. That's between them and Him. But love Him with all of your heart, with all of your soul, with all of your mind, with all of your resources. Give Him your best. I think that's what Mary did. She gave Him the best that she had. Give Him your best because He alone deserves your best. Thanks, and we'll talk tomorrow.